I want to start off by thanking Ms. Denizay, Mr. Aaron-Haft, and the rest of the Diversity Committee for giving me the opportunity to speak to you all today. And for the sophomores, I know most of the juniors, but for the sophomores that don't know me, my name is Jared Makheja, and I'm a junior. So before I get started, actually, I want to poll the whole room. So which of these two things will make you feel more fulfilled today? If I handed you $20 cold hard cash, or if I asked you to do 2 hours of community service? Well, most of people's answers, and my answer actually recently was $20. Just give me the $20, no questions asked, and I'll just take it and walk away. Like I said, yeah. And so I want to start off by defining the word fulfillment for you all. And so I really want to focus on the first. This is the Google definition, which reads the achievement of something desired, promised, or predicted. And so I desired the $20, and so if I could achieve that, I would be fulfilled with myself. And that's why I chose the $20 to be fulfilled. So my personal definition of fulfillment was the combination of having the best grades, going to the nicest college, having the best toys, living in the biggest house, and driving the best car. And so if I had all these things, I would feel pretty fulfilled with myself. And I read accomplishments to mean fulfillment. So everything I accomplished on my checklist, I would feel more and more fulfilled with myself. And so I've done this with my planner where I'm writing down my homework, and when I go home and I finish my homework, I violently scratch it out because I feel really fulfilled with myself for accomplishing that, and I move on to the next thing. And so on that, when I was younger, I actually used to read these self-help, self-improvement books where I wanted to create the best version of myself possible so I could accomplish more on my checklist. And so if I could read these and refine Jared Makheja to be the best person possible, and then I can accomplish more on my checklist and feel more fulfilled. And on my ride into school every morning when Mom was driving me, I used to always listen to these motivational podcasts and on the radio when these celebrities and motivational speakers used to say, focus on yourself and forget everybody else. So, because if you do that, you can find your mistakes and correct them and then be the best person you can be. And so I listened to this and I said, yeah, I'm going to do this because then I can make the best Jared Makheja and accomplish more on my checklist because I'm the best person possible. Let's put it that way. And so I used to say these mantras over in my head. I see, I want, I grind, I get. I see, I want, I grind, I get. And it was all about me and how to improve myself personally over helping somebody else. And I wasn't really focused on them. I was really focused on myself. And so I was actually so fulfilled with myself, I took to Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, and Twitter. And I wanted to show the world how fulfilled with myself I was. I wanted to show you all my accomplishments. On Instagram, my feed is just me being me in the coolest spots because I felt so fulfilled with myself. I needed to show all of you. You don't see my failures, you don't see my hard work. You just see my highlight reel. And same thing with Snapchat. If I just take a selfie and I just send it to my friends, it's this guy is super fulfilled and here's a picture to prove it. And so I also try to fulfill myself with materialistic things. And I used to try to wear the nicest clothes, nicest shoes, nicest watch, and drive the nicest car into school to feel more fulfilled with myself. Because if I had the nicest things, I felt that I accomplished more and I could feel fulfilled with myself. Until these things I couldn't really keep up with to crave that feeling of fulfillment. So this wasn't very sustainable. And so I also tried to buy the feeling of fulfillment. And so in doing this, when I was walking through Washington, D.C., New York City, whatever large city you may have, I would just give some loose change to the homeless man on the side of the road. I would just kind of, when I see them, I'd kind of reach for some loose change. At most $1, I would give it to them. And then I'd kind of walk away with my head held up high, and I'm like, I just kind of helped that guy today. I feel pretty good with myself. Until I sat down one day and I kind of realized that none of these things really made me feel fulfilled with myself. That at the end of the day, giving my loose change to a homeless man or wearing the nicest shirt in the school, I didn't really feel fulfilled. I didn't really feel good with myself on the inside. I still felt quite empty when I went to bed at night. Until July 9, 2011, I came to this realization. When this is my mom's birthday, and for her birthday, she wanted to do community service the entire day. So my parents told me in 2011 that, hey, Jared, later this week on this Saturday morning at 8 a.m., you're going to come with you and your siblings to Southeast D.C., and we're going to do some community service for about 8 hours. And I said, hold up, that sounds like the worst thing anyone could possibly ever do. I didn't see any reward behind helping these people, these complete strangers that I didn't even know about. Nonetheless, this wasn't in Southeast D.C., but we went to a soup kitchen called Some, so others might eat, and we prepared and served breakfast, lunch, and dinner to the impoverished community there. And I felt this kind of feeling inside me, this feeling of true fulfillment that I didn't really feel before. This feeling that I didn't feel when I gave a homeless man my loose change or at most $1, or when I drove into school with the nicest car. I felt this different kind of sensation inside, in both my soul and my heart. And this was a new feeling that I wanted to replicate. And so I wanted to test out my theory here. Is this something like actually real? Is this like a real feeling of fulfillment, or is what I was feeling a bad burger that I ate the night before? Is that what I was feeling? And so I wanted to reproduce it. And so I went back later that year. I actually went back with my family during the holidays, and I kept feeling the same sensation. I felt this feeling that I did something good for someone else. And I felt good with myself after that I gave a homeless man a hot meal that he hadn't eaten in over 3 weeks. Or I fed a young girl who was impoverished, who didn't have the opportunities that I was so blessed with. And so actually after I served lunch that second time when I went back, I sat down with some of the people that were there, and I was able to talk with them, and they expressed the struggles of poverty and the cycle of poverty. So I sat down with this man for about an hour, and his name is Juan, and he expressed the struggles of poverty and how he was born into poverty. He spent his entire life in poverty, and his wife just gave birth to his son, who was now born into poverty. And he expressed that when he was in high school, he was forced to drop out of high school because his family didn't have the resources to send him there every day. And he needed to drop out to raise finances and to raise some money to help to support the family. And so after this experience with Juan and at the soup kitchen, I redefined the word fulfillment for myself. And my new definition is a combination of a sense of purpose, having a positive mindset, but ultimately true fulfillment is through serving others. And so just to recall your memory, my previous definition of fulfillment is far different than my current definition of fulfillment. And so previously, I thought having the nicest house, driving the nicest car would mean I was fulfilled with myself. But in reality, my true definition of fulfillment was, again, the combination of a positive attitude, a sense of others, a sense of purpose, and ultimately serving others. And so when I was there, I realized I didn't really know anything about poverty. I was born and raised in a bubble, let's say. I was born in McLean, Virginia, which is a place kind of close to DC, which doesn't have too much poverty in it. And so I didn't really know anything about poverty. Obviously, I've seen it, and it was on the media and stuff like that, but I didn't really experience it firsthand. So I did some studying, and I researched up all about poverty just to become more aware of what this is. And I discovered some of these quite disgusting statistics that 45 million people in the United States, or about 15% of the entire US population, live below the poverty line. And this other statistic, 21% of all children also live below the poverty line. So for a moment, think of your 5 best friends. In the real world, one of those people will be living below the poverty line. This next statistic is actually quite interesting. It says 13% of all people 25 or older don't have a high school diploma. And this tells me that most of that 13% were forced to drop out of high school to support their family, and their family didn't have the resources to send them to high school. And so, like I said, I did some reflection after the second time I went to the soup kitchen, and I discovered I was a very blessed person. I was born into a great family. I was allowed to continue my education at such a great institution like St. Albans, and I didn't have to drop out, and I didn't have to support and work to help my family financially. And so then I realized that Juan wasn't as lucky as I was. And so the key to eradicating poverty after me doing all my research was through education. And specifically the combination of mentorship, soft skills training, and vocational training. The perfect combination of these 3 will eventually lead someone to a full-time job and eventually out of poverty. And so that's exactly what I did. I formalized this approach, and I created my nonprofit organization, the Elevator Project. So like I said, the Elevator Project is my nonprofit that has 6 floors. It takes an applicant from an impoverished state out of poverty by attaining a full-time job. And so this is loosely based on an elevator model, but you start on the ground floor, where an applicant comes to us and fills out a classic application. Then the next floor is the mentorship floor, where they get some experience in the field of their choosing that they want to pursue their career in before actually getting certified, which is the next floor, where they get formally certified in the field of their choosing so that employers are more likely to hire them. The next floor is the interpersonal skills floor, where I personally teach all of our applicants about communication and soft skills training because that is very crucial in the workplace nowadays. The next floor is the job placement floor, where at this point all of our applicants are earning a stable salary and lifting slowly their families and themselves out of poverty. The next floor is the rooftop, and this is the most important floor of the elevator project because this is the pay it forward floor, where we encourage all of our applicants to send the elevator back down and help their own communities in some certain way. And this elevator project is loosely based on the quotation, if you're lucky enough to do well, it is your responsibility to send the elevator back down. And so to go into more detail, the ground floor of the elevator project, like I said, was the application floor. And here an applicant comes to us, fills out the classic application, like I said, but more important than that, I have an interview with the applicant. And so I sit down with him and I try to connect with him as much as possible to learn about his struggles in poverty and his family situation and how he first got into poverty. Was he born into it? Was he forced to, did his father lose his job or something like that? And during the interview as well, we map out his elevator ride. So we show him the light at the end of the tunnel. We say, if you follow our method, you will result like the rest of our graduates of the elevator project. The first floor is the mentorship floor, where most of our applicants get hands-on experience in the field of their choosing. And the mentors for this program come from graduates of the elevator project who want to offer and volunteer their time to help those that were in poverty, that were once in their socioeconomic state. And this floor, they also get a real taste of the occupation before diving in and getting a full career in that occupation. The second floor is the formal certification floor, where through our corporate partners of Northern Virginia Community College, through Northern Virginia Community College, they get formally certified in the field of their choosing, and that's through our corporate partners, like I mentioned. The third floor is the soft skills floor, where, like I said, I teach all of our applicants about emotional intelligence and how to communicate with their colleagues around them, and especially how to behave in the workplace, how to write a resume, and how to act during an interview. And on this floor is actually quite important because we see nowadays that EQ, or emotional intelligence, in the workplace is pretty similarly ranked as IQ, and is just as important as IQ. And so then they graduate to the fourth floor, which is full-time job placement. And in this floor, our applicants are now earning a stable salary and have joined a corporation for a full-time job, either through one of our corporate partners, or they can take the skills that they learned and go apply that to another job. And finally, the rooftop. So like I said, this is the most important floor of the elevator project, where now they're earning a stable salary and their family is no longer in poverty. And we encourage all of our applicants to donate back to the organization because we want them to remember that they were once in that low socioeconomic state, and now they're not there anymore, and they need to help others in their community that were also in that low socioeconomic state. So as you can see here on the right is a picture of me with one of our early applicants to the elevator project, and on the left is during a corporate fund run program where we reached out to the community, and there we developed a lot of corporate sponsors. So the elevator project has a no person left behind policy. And this was originated through getting some applicants with special needs, and specifically dyslexia was very common through some of our special needs applicants. And so I actually realized that many of these people with special needs can't be in the same rigorous classes as some of our other applicants because they needed a more customized and individualized approach. And thus, the Elevator Project Special Needs Program was born. And so out of this, I've discovered that every special need applicant needs a customized elevator ride where each floor is specifically tailored to that individual. And they also need a tool for neurostrengthening. And so like I said, dyslexia was very prevalent in our applicants. And so I didn't really know much about dyslexia. I knew it was a learning disability, but I didn't really know much else besides that. And so for those that don't know, dyslexia, simply put, is a disorder that involves difficulty in learning to read, write, interpret words, and other symbols. And it's also very prevalent in the impoverished community. I noticed that 12% of all adults that live below the poverty line has dyslexia. So think of everyone that lives below the poverty line. 1 in 10 of those people has dyslexia. But conversely, 22% of the dyslexic population lives in poverty. So think of everyone that is dyslexic. 1 in 5 of those people live in poverty. And so, like I said, I learned about dyslexia. I gathered as much data as I could find on the internet and in studies and speaking with dyslexic professionals. And I studied the intricacies of the disorder, and I kind of sifted through all that information. I made it into a few comprehensive neuroscientific guides just for myself so I can kind of refer back to them if I had any additional questions. I also created and tested some worksheets for the Elevator Project Special Needs Program and for those with dyslexia as a temporary neurostrengthening tool that they would use in order to regain some of the neural pathways and kind of level out the playing field between them and other applicants in the Elevator Project. And so, like I said, I created these comprehensive neuroscientific guides as well as some of these exercises that would help those with dyslexia. And one of my applicants' wives, they came up to me and she said, Jared, you have a lot of things here that could help the entire dyslexic community, not just those in the Elevator Project. She said, oh, you should turn them all into a book. And so I kind of laughed it off and kind of went on my way. But then when I went home, I compiled all my notes and all my exercises and worksheets, and I put it together. And I established I did have enough for a book. And so that's exactly what I did. So I wrote and published Unlock Dyslexia, a comprehensive workbook. And this is the combination of neuroscientific guides as well as comprehensive exercises for those with dyslexia. And it focuses on the three major aspects of dyslexia, which include visual learning, auditory learning, and spatial perception. All proceeds of my book, every dollar I make from my book goes directly to helping applicants in the Elevator Project. And this book is actually crucial in fundraising for the Elevator Project. So this book has been published and is available on Amazon, iBooks, and Barnes & Noble for the entire dyslexic community to access. And so I was also very fortunate enough to be invited to speak, present, and showcase my book at the International Dyslexia Association's conference in Orlando, Florida in 2016. So as you can see here, I flew down to Orlando and I set up a booth where I was able to talk about the Elevator Project, and I was able to speak a little bit about my motivation behind writing the book and what the Elevator Project really was. And so here I was also able to raise a lot of funds for the Elevator Project, either through donations or a lot of book sales that I got, because people just believed in the Elevator Project's mission and my mission of one day eradicating poverty. And late last school year, I also won the Bishop John T. Walker Fellowship for Community Service. And so I wanted to travel to Los Angeles to open a new branch of the Elevator Project by finding a Los Angeles partner. And I also wanted to inspire other youth in that community to create social change in the Los Angeles area. And so that's exactly what I did. When I went to Los Angeles, you can see on the right here me shaking hands with Dan Petty, the head of our Los Angeles branch of the Elevator Project. And I was able to speak to some of the youth in that community at some schools about creating lasting social change. And on the left is a picture of me with one of our first applicants in the Elevator Project's Los Angeles branch. So now I'm calling on all of you. This is a call to action from me to you all, saying to find your definition of fulfillment and go and execute upon it. As you can see behind me, there are so many world problems. All you have to do is find one that you're interested in, and then go and create lasting social change, because because we are the leaders of tomorrow. We are Generation Z, and we will be taking over tomorrow's world, and these are our problems to solve. So now I'd like to play a little video to summarize a little bit about what I was saying.
Do you know how we get fulfillment? You can be happy because you did things at work. You can be proud because you did things at work. You can be excited because you had a big success at work. But you know how you feel fulfilled at work? When you do something for someone else. It's the only way we get that feeling. Do you know why the statistics say that over 90% of people don't feel fulfilled by the work they do? It's not because of the job, it's not because of the pay, it's not because of the benefits. It's because we don't help each other anymore. We sit in our cubes and we work. And anything that we turn to anybody is because we need something, we need to get something. And yet we don't put ourselves out there simply for no other reason than to help somebody else. You know what generosity is? Generosity is doing something for someone else expecting nothing in return. At no point ever. It's not an equation. It's designed to help you feel good. Because when we are in groups, when we are surrounded by people who believe what we believe, trust emerges and our very survival and progress goes up. Make it about them, not about you. The fact of the matter is 100% of customers are people. And 100% of clients are people. And 100% of employees are people. I don't care how good your product is. I don't care how good your marketing is. I don't care how good your design is. If you don't understand people, you don't understand business. We are social animals. We are human beings, and our survival depends on our ability to form trusting relationships. My question is what are you doing to help the person next to you? Don't you want to wake up and go to work for the only reason that you can do something good for someone else? Wouldn't you want them to do that for you?
Yeah, so I think that video really ties together what I was trying to communicate to you all, and I think that really goes back to the theme of the day is, am I my brother's keeper? And I think after watching that video, the answer is most clearly yes. And so for more information about the Elevator Project and Unlock Dyslexia, feel free to visit those websites. And if you don't manage to see me in the halls, you have any specific questions, feel free to email me at either my St. Albans account or my Elevator Project account. And one more thing, there will be another community outreach day that we do every year for the Elevator Project at SUM, where it all began. And so if any of you or all of you are interested in attending that, just let me know and I'll be happy to put your name down on the list. The more we have, the merrier. So I wanted to thank all of you, the St. Albans community, students and faculty, for allowing me the support network for creating this social change organization. I also want to thank my family because they were another great source of support, and I actually want to thank Juan for inspiring me and making me realize the harsh realities of the world around me. And so I want to leave you all with one final quote, which reads, "If we help ourselves, we find moments of happiness. But when we help others, we find lasting fulfillment." Thank you all very much. Yeah, Jack.
How many graduates do you have in the Elevator Project?
That's a great question. So the question was about graduates of the Elevator Project and how many we have. So currently we have about 84 graduates. So about 84 families that we help lift out of poverty. And that comes from about 70 in the Elevator Project and about 14 in the Elevator Project Special Needs Program. Thank you. Yeah, Jorge. Yeah, the question was about how long does the process take of the Elevator Project, and it really ranges depending on what kind of person you are, especially for the Special Needs Program. It's a little bit longer than the Elevator Project, but generally it ranges from about 6 months. It depends how committed the person is, so 6 months to about a year. So thank you. Yeah, Nick.
What's the most common profession that graduates?
It's a great question. It's more of manual labor, so like HVAC, which is like a construction management type of thing, or an electrician or a plumber and stuff like that. Thank you. Armand. Yeah, so the question was about expansion of the Elevator Project. And so, like I said, we've opened a new branch in Los Angeles thanks to the Bishop Walker Fellowship. But I just spoke to my advisory board about more expansion opportunities for the Elevator Project, and we are looking to expand to other large cities where poverty is heavily impacted in that community. Harrison.
Do you ever have a client that you're sort of not able to help get a job for whatever reason they don't sort of succeed in the program?
The question is about like success rate of the Elevator Project, and I'm happy to report that we actually have a 100% success rate. It kind of depends on the timing. So some may take as much as 2 years or even longer than that, just kind of based off of the person's, like if they have kids or not that they need to look after, if they have other extenuating circumstances. But no, we've actually had a 100% success rate in the Elevator Project. Thank you. Simon.
Do you personally do all of the training in terms of like soft skills and EQ and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the question was about, do I do all the training for the soft skills for it? And yes, I do. I actually went to a crash course kind of seminar thing where I learned about how to teach that and what it was in general. And so it was about a 3-day program that I went to that I was able to learn about this, and therefore I'm able to teach and help others learn that as well. Ben, yes.
You said they fill out applications.
Yeah.
So what would make my application more of, I guess, something that you could go to prioritize than somebody else's?
So the question about like prioritizing applications and helping specific people in order. And so we don't really do that. We do it on like first come, first serve type basis. So the first application I get, I try to help them out first. But if there is someone that has a super extenuating circumstance, I would have to take them over the person that doesn't have that circumstance. Great question. Nick.
How many people do you work with at a time?
So the question was how many people I work with at a time. And so like I said, this is a kind of a stretched out process. So it could be, let's say, I try to keep it one person per floor so I can kind of organize it a little better. But like for now, during APs and exams and all that stuff, it slows down a lot. And so I try to offset some of that work to my Los Angeles head, so who kind of reads the applications and sends them back to me and kind of gives me a little report about them. And he kind of does the Skype interviews as well with them. And when I'm not able to do that, and I kind of do the same thing for him. So that's kind of how I manage that. Are there any other questions? Yeah, John.
So you mentioned that you do all the soft skills work, but has anyone approached you about joining your kind of movement and helping you out with that part of the process?
Yes, the question was about like cooperation and collaboration with other. Are you talking about other organizations or just specific people? Oh, so I actually, like I said, I have these corporate partners with Northern Virginia Community College who love my idea and they wanted to take some of the applicants, and that's where I get my hard skills training done, the vocational skills. But the wider circle actually has been very helpful, and I know the CEO there, Dr. Mark Burgell, and him and I go. He's known about the elevator project since its inception, and so yeah. So in terms of corporate partners, those are the two main big ones. Yeah, Chris. So he's talking about goals for the elevator project and overall. So I do want to expand the organization so I can cover one day eradicate poverty in the United States and hopefully the world. And I know that's very ambitious of a 17-year-old at this point, but that's what I see the elevator project doing, and I hope to continue it all the way throughout my life. Thank you. Any other questions? All right, great. Thank you all very much.
So at 1:30, you should be going to your next groups, discussion groups, guys. So I would say please make sure you're on time. Those will be over at 2:20, okay? And then you'll have a survey. All right?
The group listings with the members and the locations to be found in the Marriott Hall 200 and 300 level hallways. So just check those lists to know where to go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Great job, Mike.
Thank you.
So